My sister faked having cancer to ruin my Ivy League dreams, so I exposed her lies. Now she's at my door begging for forgiveness. Your sister has cancer, my mom whispered, her voice trembling. I dropped the acceptance letter I was holding. The gold crest of Columbia University fluttered to the floor like it meant nothing. She what since when? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom avoided my eyes, fiddling with the hem of her shirt. It's new. The tests just came in. A sharp silence swallowed the kitchen whole. And, just like that, every plan I'd made unraveled. I was supposed to move to New York in 3 weeks. I had a scholarship, a dorm assignment, a student ID number I'd memorized like it was holy scripture. But now my sister Julia had cancer. She was sitting on the couch in the living room, wrapped in a fleece blanket, pale and quiet. Her hair was tied in a loose bun, and when she looked over at me, her eyes were watery and sad. She gave me a little wave. My mom added softly, she needs her family right now. I know how much Columbia meant to you, Caleb, but maybe defer for a year. Help us through this. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But instead, I just nodded numbly. Julia was 17, 2 years younger than me. We'd never been close. She was loud, dramatic, constantly pulling focus. I'd always been the responsible one. The golden boy, the academic. But I still loved her. Of course I did. So I stayed. I deferred my admission. Took a job at my uncle's garage, doing oil changes and tire rotations. Spent my days coming home to Julia lying on the couch, curled up like some fragile bird. Mom would whisper updates to me over dinner, chemo dates, blood counts, scary terms that made my head spin. And then one afternoon, I overheard Julia laughing on the phone. Not sick person laughing. Real laughing. Big, belly-deep cackles. I can't believe they bought it, she said. He really gave up Columbia. My stomach dropped. I crept closer to the hallway, heart thudding against my ribs like it was trying to escape. No, I don't feel bad. He always made me feel like crap, Mr. Perfect. This is just balance. I didn't hear the rest. I couldn't. I backed away, every nerve in my body firing. My ears were ringing. My mouth went dry. Julia wasn't sick. She faked it. Lied to our entire family. Just to sabotage my future. That night, I stood outside her bedroom door, my fist raised but not knocking. I didn't know what I'd say if I walked in. I just knew one thing. She needed to be exposed. But how? That was the question that kept me up all night. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying her voice over and over again. He really gave up Columbia. By morning, my chest felt tight with fury. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. That day, I skipped work and went to the local clinic, the one Julia had supposedly been going to for treatments. I knew it was a long shot, but I figured if she had actual appointments, they'd have something on file. I told the nurse I was checking in on my sister's condition and mentioned her name. She looked confused. Julia Barlow, she asked, double-checking the system. We don't have anyone by that name here. My stomach turned. I pushed a little further. Maybe it was under my mom's insurance? We thought it was leukemia. Still nothing. She gave me a polite but pointed smile. I'm sorry. If she was seen here, we'd have a record. I left with ice in my veins. She didn't just fake cancer, she did it without even bothering to cover her tracks. That night at dinner, Julia pushed mashed potatoes around her plate dramatically, letting out these soft, pitiful sighs. Mom kept glancing at her with concern, and I felt like I was watching a play I wasn't invited to be in anymore. She's not even trying, I thought, disgust crawling up my throat. Not even a wig or a bandage or anything. I waited until Julia went upstairs before I cornered my mom in the kitchen. Where's Julia's medication? I asked, trying to sound casual. Mom blinked. What? Her pills. The ones for the nausea. She takes them after dinner, I think. You've never seen them? She hesitated. She said the side effects were worse. So she stopped. The web of lies was so thin, it barely held together. I could have yelled, could have screamed the truth right then and there. But I realized no one was going to believe me without evidence. So I started collecting it. The next week, I set up a hidden recording device in the living room. She used that space the most: couch, TV, phone calls. And I knew, sooner or later, she'd say something stupid again. I was right. It took 3 days. She was on the phone with her best friend, bragging about how insanely gullible everyone was. I played it back that night, sitting alone in the garage after my shift. Her words crackled through the speaker. It's not like he needed to go to New York. Seriously, he'll be fine. Besides, it was kind of fun. I've never seen Mom cry like that before. I stared at the recorder in my hand, fingers trembling. That was it. The mask was slipping, and I had her voice cold, smug, real. But even with that in my pocket, the next move terrified me. Do I take this to my mom and blow the lid off everything? Or do I go straight to the school and tell them I'm back on? Was this about justice or revenge? And more importantly, could I ever forgive her? I didn't eat the next morning. My appetite was gone, burned out by adrenaline and nerves. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over the call button for Columbia admissions. One call, and maybe, just maybe, they'd let me undefer. It hadn't been that long. I could explain. I had a real reason. But then I thought about Mom. And Julia. What would happen when I exposed her? I kept hearing Julia's voice from the recording, mocking, cruel, like she'd never seen me as anything but a threat to outshine. I had always been the achiever. The one who made honor roll, got scholarships, never broke curfew. Julia hated that. Everyone I had somehow dimmed her. So she created a tragedy to make herself the center. And she succeeded. Our whole family revolved around her now, her fake illness, her sob story. Even the church had started a GoFundMe, raising thousands for experimental treatments. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just petty sibling jealousy. This was fraud. That night, I walked into Julia's room and held up my phone. I know, I said quietly. I heard everything. She froze. Her eyes darted to the device, then to me. I recorded you. You've been lying. About everything. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Just this pale, shaky half-smile, like she thought maybe she could still charm her way out. I didn't give her the chance. I'm giving you 24 hours, I said. You tell Mom. Or I do. She stared at me, blinking fast, the tears already starting. You wouldn't. Try me. She tried to play the victim. Cried, screamed, threw her phone at the wall, and accused me of ruining her life. But the next night, she sat Mom down and confessed. I watched from the hallway as our mother crumbled. Her face went white. She kept repeating, "Why would you do this?" And Julia? She didn't even cry. She just sat there, hollow, like she'd been caught cheating on a test and was waiting for the punishment. I stood there silently, a ghost in my own home, listening to my family splinter. Mom apologized to me that night in broken pieces. She begged me to call Columbia, to go, to not let this derail my life. But the semester had already started. My spot was gone. I told her I'd reapply. I didn't say the part that kept clawing at my gut. That even if I got in again, it wouldn't be the same. That dream had been poisoned. The news spread fast, not just within our family, but through the entire town. Julia had posted about her cancer journey nonstop for 3 months. She'd gotten cards from classmates, prayers from strangers, even free tickets to a concert from a local radio station. And now? Now people wanted answers. It started with whispers. A post on Facebook from our neighbor. Interesting how someone can suddenly get better without a single round of treatment. Then someone shared a screenshot of Julia at a party the week before she confessed. She wasn't wearing a wig. No IVs. Just laughing, drink in hand. Things snowballed. One of her teachers emailed the school counselor about possibly being defrauded by a student's family. A classmate whose mom donated $300 started asking for it back. A church elder called my mom in tears, heartbroken that they'd raised so much money under false pretenses. Mom quit her book club. Dad, who was working out of state most of the year, came home early and didn't say a word to Julia the entire weekend. Just sat in his recliner watching sports, like silence would make it all disappear. And Julia? She stayed locked in her room. At one point, I walked past her door and heard the sound of something crashing. Maybe a picture frame. Maybe her phone. I didn't care. She wasn't grounded. There was no official punishment. But life had already decided to serve hers cold. Her friends stopped replying. College applications that had once seemed promising, dead in the water. No one wants a scandal attached to their brand. The local paper even ran a small blurb. Teen fakes illness for attention, funds. Her name wasn't printed, but everyone knew. Still, she never apologized to me. Not once. Instead, she acted like I'd destroyed her life. Like I was the villain for not keeping the secret. The tension in the house was unbearable. Mom walked on eggshells. Dad avoided everyone. Julia sulked, barely speaking. And me? I just worked. I picked up extra shifts at the garage. Took online courses at night, trying to salvage something of my year. But every time I heard the Columbia fight song, or saw someone in a hoodie from an Ivy League, something inside me twisted. My dream wasn't just delayed, it had been stolen. One night, I came home to find my laptop open on the kitchen table. A Columbia brochure lay beside it. My mom sat in the corner, eyes red. I called them, she said softly. I blinked. What? I told them what happened. Not all the details, just that a family emergency forced you to defer under false pretenses. They said, they'll reconsider you for next fall. I didn't know whether to thank her or scream. She looked at me like she wanted permission to cry. I didn't give it. I just said, okay, and walked to my room. And then, 3 days later, the real twist came. A letter addressed to me. From Columbia. Not an email. An envelope. And inside? A single sentence. We are pleased to reinstate your admission for the fall term. I stared at the letter for a long time before telling anyone. It felt surreal, like a dream I wasn't allowed to believe in yet. But it was real. My name in bold. My student ID. My new dorm assignment. I read the line about welcome back to the Columbia community until the ink practically imprinted on my eyes. I didn't tell my parents right away. I didn't tell Julia at all. Instead, I got to work again, this time preparing to leave. I took on double shifts at the garage to save for the move. Reached out to the bursar's office to confirm my scholarship was still valid. Quietly packed boxes and bought a second-hand suitcase off Facebook Marketplace. It wasn't triumph. It was survival. But just when I started to feel the weight lifting, Julia struck again. I came home one afternoon to find her on the porch with her phone in her lap. Her face was blotchy, like she'd been crying hard and suddenly stopped. She looked up at me. Can we talk? I didn't sit. She took that as permission anyway. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she said quietly. I don't know. You've always had everything. You don't get what it's like to be the other kid. I stared at her, stunned. You mean the one who doesn't lie about dying to get attention? She flinched. I didn't do it for money, she snapped. I never asked for money. But you didn't stop it either, I said. You let Mom cry herself to sleep. You let the whole town pray for you. I gave up everything because I thought you were dying, Julia. Her face hardened. I didn't ask you to stay. That sentence hung in the air like smoke. It was true. And yet, it gutted me. I didn't respond. I turned to leave. That's when she whispered it. I'm going to tell people you made it up. That you faked the recording. That you hated me so much you wanted to ruin my life. I stopped cold. That's the story you're going with? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You want to make this uglier? Her eyes glistened. You think they'll believe you over me? Something inside me snapped. I already sent the recording to Columbia, I said. And to Dad's lawyer. And our church board. So go ahead. Lie. She looked like I'd slapped her. I'm not letting you take me down with you, I added. You made your bed. I walked inside, locked my door, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt something like peace. But that wasn't the end. Not yet. Because a week later, Julia disappeared. She was just gone. No note. No warning. 1 minute Julia was sulking in her room, and the next, her bed was empty and her phone was off. At first, I thought maybe she'd gone to a friend's, hiding out until the storm passed. But then Mom started pacing, calling hospitals, crying. She's not answering. She's not anywhere, she kept repeating. I watched her unravel, arms shaking as she dialed every number she could think of. I wanted to feel bad. I really did, but part of me was too exhausted, too hollowed out. Dad called in the police when she didn't come back after 2 days. They filed a missing persons report. That's when the speculation started. People online wondered if the fake cancer girl had snapped. Some thought she'd run away to escape the humiliation. Others claimed she was just doing it for attention again. It got dark. Fast. News stations started sniffing around. A local paper ran a headline, "Teen at Center of Cancer Hoax Vanishes." Every time someone said hoax, it felt like another stone in the pit of my stomach. I hadn't meant for things to go this far. I just wanted my life back. I didn't want her to be hated. Just stopped. Then on day 4, a detective knocked on our door. Said they'd found her. She was holed up in a rundown motel 20 miles away. Paid in cash. Alone. They brought her home, disheveled but unharmed. I was standing in the hallway when she came through the door. Her face was blotchy, hair tangled. She didn't look like my sister. She looked like a ghost of the girl who used to steal my clothes and cry over boy bands. Mom rushed to her. I didn't move. Julia looked up at me, just once. Eyes red, lips trembling. And then she said, barely audible, "I didn't think you'd actually ruin me." I didn't answer. Because I didn't ruin her. She did that all by herself. The night before I left for New York, Julia stood outside my room. I could hear her breathing, not crying, not knocking, just standing there. I sat on the edge of my bed, shoving the last of my clothes into the suitcase I'd borrowed from my cousin. It still had her initials embroidered on the side. My acceptance letter from Colombia was taped to the wall. I'd been staring at it so long, it had become a part of the room, like I needed proof I was really going this time. Then I heard it. A whisper. "Can we ever be sisters again?" I froze. She didn't say it loud enough for me to respond. Maybe she didn't want me to. Maybe she just wanted the words to exist in the air like a flare. I opened the door. She was barefoot, in one of Dad's old t-shirts, hair still a mess from the motel. Her eyes flicked to the suitcase, then back to me. "You really are leaving." "I was always supposed to," I said. She looked down at her feet. "I didn't mean for it to break everything. You lied about dying, Julia." "I know." Silence. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled something out. A wrinkled Polaroid of us. From when we were kids. I was in a Halloween costume, some awkward night getup, and she was a princess, clinging to my arm like I was her hero. "I keep this," she said. "Even now." I didn't know what to do with that. Or what it was supposed to mean. "I messed up," she said. "I was jealous. Stupid. I wanted. I don't even know. But I know I lost you." "You didn't lose me," I said. "You threw me away." She flinched. Then I stepped past her, suitcase in hand, brushing shoulders like strangers in a narrow hallway. I didn't look back as I walked down the driveway. Dad loaded my suitcase into the back of his dusty Honda, like it was the last favor he could do before disappearing again. Mom stood on the porch, arms crossed, eyes wet, but not saying anything. I didn't expect her to. She still hadn't figured out whose side to stand on. Maybe she never would. Julia wasn't there. The drive to the airport was quiet. Dad tried making small talk, asked about my dorm if I needed extra money. I gave him short answers. Nothing harsh, just minimal. Like we were coworkers, not blood. Right before I stepped out of the car, he reached across the console and handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. $2,000. From his personal savings. For your restart, he said, eyes not quite meeting mine. Thanks, I said. I meant it. But it still felt weird taking it. Like a consolation prize. I flew to New York in silence. No tearful goodbyes. No dramatic airport hugs. Just the low hum of jet engines and the flickering thought that this was it, finally, the beginning I'd been robbed of. My roommate, Theo, was a fast-talking pre-law kid from Chicago with a fridge full of energy drinks and opinions on everything. We didn't click instantly, but he was easy to live with. I appreciated that more than I let on. For the first month, I didn't think about home. Not much. Then one night, I got an email. Subject line, from Julia. I hovered over it for hours. Didn't open it until the sun came up. Inside was a single paragraph. Caleb, I know I don't deserve anything from you, especially not forgiveness. But I want you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I started volunteering at the cancer center. I needed to understand what I pretended to be. I wanted to feel that guilt fully. I don't expect you to respond. But if you ever want to talk, not for me, but for you, I'll be here. Julia. I didn't write back. Not then. But I didn't delete it either. Spring semester rolled around faster than I expected. I had a part-time campus job shelving books at the library, a solid GPA, and a tiny circle of friends who didn't know a thing about my past. It felt like walking around in borrowed skin, lighter, looser. But Julia's email sat unread in my inbox. Not deleted. Not ignored. Just waiting. Sometimes I'd click on it, read it again, and close it without replying. Then one rainy Saturday in March, I got a call. From an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened to it, all I heard was crying. Muffled at first, then a voice I hadn't heard in months. It's Julia. I'm outside. My breath caught. I opened the dorm's blinds, half expecting her to be bluffing. But there she was. Standing under an umbrella, soaked through anyway, clutching something to her chest. I went downstairs. She didn't say anything at first. Just handed me a manila folder. Inside were dozens of handwritten apology letters, addressed to everyone she lied to. Church members. Her teachers. The cancer center staff. Some of them had responses paperclipped on top. Forgiveness. Some anger. One woman wrote, I don't condone what you did, but I believe in second chances. Julia sniffled. I thought you should know I'm not hiding from it anymore. I didn't know what to say. So I said the only honest thing I had left. I'm not ready. She nodded. No drama. No tears this time. I just needed to see you before I left, she said. Where? Ohio. There's a program for youth advocates. They train people to speak about medical misinformation. They said I could help. Maybe, if I stick with it. I watched her walk away. She didn't ask for a hug. Didn't push for absolution. She just left. And that's when I realized something. This story was never about revenge. It was about release. I'm not sure when I'll speak to her again. But I know this. The dream she tried to bury? It grew roots anyway. And every step I take now is mine. Quiet, but powerful. Like forgiveness waiting to bloom.